Hi, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Laura. Hi, hello, welcome. Today we are going to talk about the palettes that I love and or are newer to my collection that have got little to no use so far this year. And they're palettes that are like I really am excited to use. I am really enjoy them. I've enjoyed them in the past, or they're new and I've been excited to use them, but just haven't found myself like picking them to use them in like a Shop My Stash or my Pan Those Eyeshadows or the Project Level Up. So I will say that I do tend to hyper focus on my Project Pan items. So Pan Those Eyeshadows, Project Level Up, Pan That Palette, those are kind of taking precedence for using items this year. So I have been making a concerted effort to try to touch every single shade of eyeshadow in whatever pan is pulled into those projects. I really am trying to touch all of my eyeshadows this year. So it's kind of embarrassing that I have these palettes that I truly love and enjoy, but I really haven't reached for them a whole lot. And now saying that, I remembered I pulled a couple to use this month that we need to talk about too. Okay. So I will have clips and everything of the palette itself and then some swatches. That way you can kind of see the color stories that are like intriguing me right now or that are intriguing me that I truly enjoy. But yeah, just gonna dive into this. So I think the first thing I want to do is the palettes that Haley has sent me that I'm really excited about, but I either haven't used them like at all, or I've used like one or two shades out of them. So the first palette that I haven't used, I haven't even touched, I've only looked at it, I've like swatched it a couple times, is this beautiful thing here. This is the Nabla Side by Side palette. It is just their neutral palette. I really enjoyed the Nabla formula in the Dreamy 2 palette that I had, and I really just haven't found the time to use this one. And I don't know why, because this is like a perfect everyday, like wear to work. Like I can get ready using this at 3 or 4 in the morning when I wake up to go to work. I could use this and like get a flawless look, I feel like, but I just haven't found myself like reaching for it to use, which is so silly. So I definitely need to make a concerted effort to reach for this one. I think this would be better for those very early morning days during the work week. So I might try to pull this out at some point, like in a Shop My Stash, or put this into like Project Level Up, because I know these aren't super terrible hard to hit pan in. Another palette from Haley that I've barely touched, I touched two shades this month in this palette, is the Alva palette by Oden's Eye. That is this guy here. Super, super beautiful palette as well. Gorgeous color story. This used to not be my color story. Like these 3 columns of like purpley pinky kind of shades, I used to very much shy away from those kinds of tones, and really like this is the row that would have like excited me the most. But now I'm really gravitating towards these like mauvey pinky tones, and I'm like, who am I? Like, who the heck am I? But I reached for this guy here and then this guy, the 2 like matte kind of shades to complement some other colors that I'm panning. But I've used this when I first got it last year, before I started tracking I think it was last year, like December maybe, I really don't know. I used a couple shades then before I started tracking, and now since I've started tracking my eyeshadow pans, I haven't like touched any of these. So again, another one that I would like to put in the Project Level Up at some point to kind of get some use and touch all of the pans in this palette. Or if either of these roll into my Pan Those Eyeshadows, I would be totally stoked for that too. Just so far haven't reached for either of those guys. So the last palette from that one care package from Haley that I want to talk about in this video is this guy. This is the Feral palette by Menagerie Cosmetics, and how freaking stunning. Like, I want to look at it. I'm sorry, hold on, let me just, you're so pretty. Everything about like the artwork on this palette is so stunning. The wolf, the fairies, everything, the forest it's in, gorgeous. And this is what that color story is in the palette. Super stunning, absolutely gorgeous. I have only reached for these two pinky shades and maybe like this are the only ones that I reached for. I don't have it written down, I don't think. No, I do. I've only reached for these two shades in the palette. I haven't reached for anything else. So there's that. I really am excited to get my fingers into this more. I think that I've heard that these are a little bit more difficult to hit pan in. However, if it rolled into a panning project, I would be super excited to just get the usage in this that I really truly want. But this palette is so gorgeous, and I'm like kicking myself. Why haven't I used this before? Like, this is perfect for like spring, summer. Like, absolutely beautiful. And fall. And year round. Year round. Come on. Then I'm going to talk about a collection of palettes. And I'm going to kick it off with probably my favorite palette in, maybe one of my favorite palettes in this stack. And that is my beloved Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green. They have discontinued this palette, and I'm so sad. I'm wondering if they're slowly going to discontinue these like Futurism palettes and then segue into their larger pan palettes, which is going to be sad because I really like the like simplicity and like how sleek and small these palettes are. But the color story on this is just like so dreamy to me. It is like everything I could want in an eyeshadow. These shades just speak to me on another level. I could have worn this today and it gotten such a beautiful look. Probably something similar to what I'm wearing, but I'm not wearing this today. I have not reached for a single shade out of this palette. I'm trying to make sure. Yeah, I haven't reached for this at all this year. And that's unacceptable for a palette that I truly love. Like, get it together, editing Laura. Use your palettes. Use all of the things you love. Moving on the line, this is one that I really like and I love the color story, but I never find myself gravitating towards it. And that counts like, I think I've maybe used this 5 times total and not even like as a whole unit. And that is this Futurism palette by Kaleidos. This is the Futurism 4, the VR Neon. And something about the color story in here gets me super excited because it's so bright and fun and colorful. But something also is like hinders me from wanting to use this. I think that it might just be because it's a little bit disconjointed. Like some of the shades look like they would work together, but might not. Like I don't see like how the green ties in with the shimmer shades. But like this makes more sense to me, like these shimmers without the green. But I think maybe the green throws me off. However, I love every single shade in this palette. I just don't know why I don't find myself reaching for it. Last year, I had put this red shade Game Over in my Fantasy Self palette challenge that Haley and I were doing. So that has gotten the most use out of this, but I have definitely not used this as a whole at all. Even though the shades in there are stunning, the shimmers are beautiful in this palette, but I just don't find myself gravitating towards it for whatever reason. And then another one where I love the color story, it's cohesive, it goes together, but yet I find myself I haven't reached for it this year. And I'm like, why? Just why? It's very compact. It's a nice color story. You would love this. That is this one that Haley did send me when I first moved into this house last year in January. This is the Kaleidos Futurism 7. I always want to say it too fast. Sashimi City. And this one is so beautiful and I love it. Another one that I could wear to work like every day, get a really cohesive look, yet I'm not finding myself reaching for it for whatever reason. I really don't know why. Like these shimmers in here go with every single shade that's in here and it's so beautiful. They're so shifty and gorgeous. And even like this kind of, I think that that's kind of a unique kind of transition shade. It's kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so pretty, like a very unique kind of salmon-y color, like a deep salmon, but it's gorgeous. And like, again, I don't know why I'm not reaching for this because the color story really does speak to me because I can do so much with it. Like not a bright, bold, out of this world color story, but sometimes those are like the things that you can like do the most with, you know? Another palette that, again, a color story I love. I was super excited about the palette. This palette actually has quite a few pans and a missing shade in it because I used it up. Yet I haven't reached for it much this year. I rolled it into my Shop My Stash to get more use out of it, which is helping so far. I've used 3 shades out of the 12 that's in it, or I guess there's only 11 now because I'm missing a shade. And that is this beauty here. And this is the Sailor Moon Pretty Guardian palette. I love this palette. I know it got a lot of heat and just like negative remarks when it came out, but I think this is such a beautiful color story. Does it really remind me of Sailor Moon? No, but it's really pretty. It's really like romantic to me. I think that this is a gorgeous palette, and I love the packaging. Like, I need to definitely reach for everything in here, especially because I love it. So I just need to just do it. Just freaking do it, Laura. Just get it together. But yeah, another one. I love it. I think it's, again, soft, romantic. I can wear it to work easily in the mornings when I'm getting ready. I keep it in her like outer packaging because I love Sailor Moon so much. So she needs to stay as pristine as possible. Then we move on to the palettes that are very expensive, and there is something in me that has not used them, and I don't know why that is. So the first one, these get so grubby when I touch them, like just swatch them or hold them. They get so dirty because they have the very reflective packaging. And the first one is this guy, and it's very hard to see. Look, you can see me times 2. Look at that. So this is the Natasha Denona Zendo palette, and I was very excited when I bought this on Black Friday. I bought a trio for like a discounted price. So I bought this one, another one that we'll talk about, and then another one that I won't talk about because I've used every shade in it now. But this guy, something about the color story really spoke to me. Again, not initially when it came out, but after the fact. And I don't know why I have not touched this. I don't think I've touched this ever. Like maybe 1 or 2 shades, but really like nothing. So I need to just get it together. These are very expensive palettes, and I want to get my use out of them and enjoy them, especially since they're so expensive. I like really toyed with the idea of only doing Natasha Denona shades in my Pan Those Eyeshadows this year, but obviously we did not do that. Maybe that's a next year kind of thing, or like a mid-year refresh. I haven't really decided. Let me know if you would be interested in seeing an all Natasha Denona Pan Those Eyeshadows. I would love to know what your thoughts are. Anyway, the next palette, again, is a Natasha Denona one, and I think this is the whole reason I wanted to buy the trio was for this palette and the Zendo, and then the third one that came with it was just kind of like a bonus kind of thing. But that is this guy, another very reflective packaging. This is the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette though, and I wasn't inspired by the color story initially, like when I saw this years ago, but like the more I saw people using it and the more I saw the palette, the more I liked the color story. Especially now since I'm getting into these purpley tones, I think that this was a much better buy currently than it was like a year ago. If I were to have bought this over a year ago, I wouldn't have been into this because more than half of the palette is those purple shades, and I'd be like, not going to use it. But now I have no excuse because I'm loving the purples, so I want to just get more use out of this. I have only used the shade Aster right here, and it's beautiful. And if that is a precursor of like how this palette is as a whole, I'm going to love it. And I just need to reach for it. Again, a common theme. Reach for your stuff. Don't be like me. Be smarter. Be better. Use your things. Especially if you bought them for a lot of money. Use them. Then the last one is the most expensive of the bunch. And again, it's one that I've only used a couple shades in. This beautiful, beautiful baby. The Natasha Denona Gold palette. This thing is so stunning. And I filmed a couple of reels when I first got this using almost every shade in the palette. And then I like tucked it away. This palette has a whole lot to offer. Sometimes I will like go back and look at the reels that I've made with this palette to get re-inspired, but then I don't reach for it. And I'm like, why are you like looking at your old things but like not being re-inspired by them, except I was re-inspired by them, and I want to reach for this palette more. Again, another one that I can wear to work and get tons of use out of, because there's a lot of neutral shades in this palette, plus those fun pops of like blues and like those shifty shades in this. But I like 3 Natasha Denona palettes, like this was like $300 of makeup, like right here alone, and I'm just like, it's fine, it can sit there, it's okay. Like, no, get it together, me. But that is it. Those 3 Natasha Denona palettes, and then 9 more, no, 3, 6. So that was the 10 palettes that I truly love, truly enjoy, yet I'm not reaching for whatever reason, and I need to make a change. So if there's any palettes in here that you want to see any kind of looks or videos or anything on, I am more than happy. If you want me to do like first impressions with the Feral, Alva, and Nude by like Side by Side by Nabla, I'm more than happy to film that. Same thing with the Zendo palette, since I haven't used that at all. I'm more than happy to film a review or anything on these palettes. I would just love to know what you want to see. But that is it for this video. I am getting hair all in my lip gloss, so I'm going to go. You guys have a great day. I hope you guys are staying healthy, sane, and safe, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye!